I got my son a 7K motorcycle for his 18th birthday this past June. My son is obsessed with automobiles and loves motorcycles. In his room, he has plenty of models and posters of motorcycles of all types. His bio dad passed away when he was just 12. Now I'm married to my current husband, and he has kids of his own. My husband has always been against my son's interest in motorcycles. He thinks I'm encouraging him to be reckless, distracting him from school, and by extension his future, and spoiling him and blowing away money by spending 7K on a motorcycle. This caused tension between him and my son, so I told him to stop complaining. About 2 weeks ago, my son's motorcycle went missing. We opened a police report, but nothing came out of it. It just disappeared. My husband had a smirk on his face the entire time, just walking around saying, "I told you so. You just wasted your money." This was unbearable to hear, to be quite honest. My mother-in-law visited a few days ago. She was talking about the other house my husband owns and mentioned seeing a motorcycle, one that's similar to the one we lost in my husband's garage while she was cleaning. She goes to clean that house weekly, even though it's empty. My husband plans on giving it to his kids as an inheritance. I was puzzled. I asked if she was certain, but she showed me a photo she took of it, which confirmed that it was indeed my son's motorcycle. I immediately rushed to call my husband and confront him about it. He admitted that he took and hid the bike in his garage as a last resort after his stepson and I kept brushing him and his thoughts off about the 7K being spent on something unnecessary that could cause issues. I blew up at him, demanding he return it. He refused and told me he had been considering selling it and giving the money back to me so I could use it wisely this time. I told him I was serious and that I'd call the police. He literally said, "This is a family matter and cops can't do crap about it." I had enough. I called the cops as soon as I ended the call with him. The motorcycle was found and returned, but my husband had to be taken in since there was an open file about the motorcycle going missing. He was let go eventually, but he was livid with me. He came home yelling about how awful what I did was and how crazy my behavior was. I refused to engage in the argument, but he told his entire family about it, and they judged me for calling the police on my husband, even though I had already asked him to return it. He said he was just looking out for my son, and that one day we'll realize that he was right, but only when it's too late. My son isn't speaking to my husband or me. I feel horrible about the whole situation, and I'm starting to think I handled this the wrong way. Not the idiot. So he's controlling, patronizing, condescending, and manipulative, and has no issue breaking the law when he thinks he's in the right. There's nothing about this man that could redeem this. Choose whether you want a relationship with your son or your toxic husband. Everyone's the idiot here. Your husband's methods were terrible. He's an idiot for stealing your son's motorcycle and being holier than thou. You for continuing to enable this behavior instead of saying this is enough and putting your son first. But what kind of irresponsible mother buys their 18-year-old a motorcycle? It's just a fun hobby until you get rear-ended by an 18-wheeler, hit some gravel in a curve, or have someone pull out in front of you. Your husband was not looking out for your son. On the contrary, he was jealous that you spent that amount and decided to punish you and your son. He didn't care about your son's feelings. I'm sure he was distraught at having his bike stolen. The number of red flags, just the fact that he thinks police won't do anything about domestic matters, that's huge. Please stand by your son's side on this. You handled it correctly by calling the police. My female 25, dad passed away days ago. My sister's husband, 31, said he couldn't be present for the funeral because he had to go on a business trip out of town, which devastated my sister. She's got so much on her plate: pregnancy, my nephew, and now my dad's death. Brother-in-law is a grade A workaholic, and it's affected his social life, but he refuses to admit it. The day of the funeral, my boyfriend was the one driving us. We drove past my brother-in-law's workplace at 8 a.m. and saw his car in the parking lot. I couldn't believe it. I know his car well since he used to drive me to school with it sometimes, so I took a picture of it and sent it to my sister. My sister was losing it, so my boyfriend suggested we bail. He dropped me off at my friend's house, and later I found out that my sister found out that her husband was in town the entire time, but lied, so he didn't have to skip work for the funeral. There was a huge blow-up, and he called me saying I had no business stalking him at his workplace and taking pictures of his vehicle. My family is mad at him, but also at me, because they said I stirred crap and caused my sister more problems now that she's arguing with brother-in-law about him purposely missing the funeral. My boyfriend said I did the right thing. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Brother-in-law was lying and got caught. Also, if he was supposedly out of town, where was he spending the nights? Who was he spending the night with? Of course, you'll be punished as the messenger, and you did add to your sister's stress at the moment. That said, you may save her years of lies and deception of dealing with someone who would show his wife so little support. My guess is a hotel near his work, so that he wouldn't have to be on the road long enough to be spotted when he went to work. My dad did this a lot around family reunion times. Honestly, I think OP should have held this for a bit, or set the sister down to let her know what she saw. On the day of the funeral, the sister was an emotional mess. I'm not sure that was the correct time to send her a text message, letting her know that her husband betrayed her by lying, and potentially worse. Are you people high? Of course not, the idiot. Is everyone forgetting not only is he lying, but he's not there to support his wife during this difficult time when she needs him? Liars always end up getting caught anyway. He doesn't sound like a great brother-in-law anyway. I mean, leaving his pregnant and grieving wife with a small child because he doesn't want to miss work? Is he trying to cure cancer? A quick tip: working late and working out of town are popular nicknames for mistresses. Probably a coworker he went home with. My boyfriend was at the laundromat doing our laundry, and he left behind my bra washing bag. It contained all 7 of my regular bras, but thankfully none of my sports bras, which get washed normally. When I realized what had happened, I made him return to the laundromat and look for them, but unfortunately they were gone, and the shop owner said that there was probably no way to get them back. I wear a 32K cup bra. This is not exactly a bra size you can just walk into Target and find. I generally have to order my bras from places like Curvy Kate. More than that, I'd finally gotten to the point where I knew what styles of bras fit me comfortably, and those 7 bras were ones I'd specifically chosen because they fit me well and looked good on me. When I asked him to please replace them, since he's the one who lost them, he initially agreed until I sent him links to each of the bras, minus one no longer made, and the cost was nearly $400. He told me he would be happy to replace 1 or 2 of them, but I was spending way too much on bras, and he couldn't justify the cost. I said, while it's not ideal, I could accept it if he could buy me the 2 that I needed most, and then over time replace the others. But he said no, that's not any better. I told him that when I accidentally spilled car oil all over his college hoodie, I went right out and immediately replaced it, even though it was from the school bookshop, so it was incredibly overpriced. He said that was completely different. He took this issue to his sister, who agreed with him that I overspend on bras and should try harder to find something that fits at the mall. Am I the idiot for this? Should I accept this? Not the idiot. Tell your boyfriend and his sister to hop over to the mall and find some bras with a K cup. Tell them to check every store and not to return without one. They could spend days searching the mall and not find a single bra in your size, especially a K cup with a small band size. You need to replace more than the bras. Seriously, and even with small size cups, bras can be really uncomfortable. I'm also a K, and I still have yet to find a bra that doesn't poke, pinch, leave welts, and just cause general misery. I'm a total cheapskate, but I spend money on bras, shoes, and a bed. Those 3 are critical. They're ridiculous to tell her she's spending too much to find the comfort they take for granted. OP, if this isn't breakup worthy for you, at least tell him he's lost all access to your Ks until he can replace all the bras. Yeah, I'm in the throw the whole man away camp because he clearly doesn't know enough about women to be in a long-term relationship. However, I can't believe his sister agreed with him. As a rule, men have no idea what bras cost. He lost them. He should replace them. Tell him you'll flatten all his tires, but only pay to replace one. Ask him how that would work for him, and then tell him he spends too much on tires. My female 24, ex-fiance 24, and I were together for 7 years. He proposed last fall, and we mutually decided to break up in May. He's always gotten along incredibly well with my parents, especially my father. They always treated him like he was one of their children, and my parents have always told him that he's part of the family. For example, he started coming on family vacations with us when we were 17. It was a very tough decision to end our relationship, but we both agreed it was for the best. He moved out while I finished up our lease term. Unfortunately, his plans fell through last minute, and he moved in with my parents for a little while finding a new place. Obviously, I felt a little weird about him moving into my childhood bedroom and being at my parents' house a fair amount. It led to lots of awkward interactions, but we got past it. He moved out at the start of August, and I thought that was that. Last night, my parents invited me over for dinner. They sat me down and explained that since the wedding was off and my ex-fiance wasn't going to be a part of the family by marriage, they wanted to adopt him. They asked him last week, and he agreed, as long as I'm okay with it. I'm definitely not. I told them that I was really not comfortable with it, and they started telling me that I'm keeping them away from their son. What? And that I need to tell him that I'm okay with it so that we can all be a real family. I'm worried I'm being an idiot because they have cared so much for my ex over the years. I'm also concerned I'm being selfish by worrying about how to explain this to future partners. Am I the idiot? Edit. I do have a younger brother. He's going to university in another country and doesn't visit home very often. My ex's mom passed away when he was young, and his dad remarried and is much more invested in his new family. He was spending so much time with me and my family that I don't think he's close with his dad anymore. That's why I'm worried I'm the idiot by taking the idea of a family away from him. Reading this post made me feel like I walked through a cave full of hallucinogenic mist. They what? They want to adopt a grown man, your ex-fiance no less, so that he remains part of the family? Not the idiot, hun, but I think your parents need a psychological evaluation because that idea is bat crap crazy. Nope, no way, no. He's taking your family away from you. He can always establish a relationship with his dad, but he doesn't want to because that's work. You know, like any relationship. He's happy taking your family from you. Don't be worried about his feelings as he's not considering yours. For real though, I would tell my parents if they went through with this, they would gain a son but lose a daughter. They should be starting to distance themselves from him now that the relationship is over. But instead they went way in the opposite direction. It'll change the family dynamic for the rest of your life. How will you ever move on properly and find a new partner with your ex around the corner? Imagine taking a new partner to your parents' house, sitting around the table, opposite your high school sweetheart. Forever. No, do not do it. Don't agree to this. How does one adopt a 24-year-old? It's basically just a legal petition to the courts. It happens fairly often for various reasons. My brother adopted his stepdaughter to solidify their relationship and to make her eligible for a share of our father's estate. So there are 2 reasons. Also, before same-sex marriage was legal, it was a way for some couples to establish next of kin and other inheritance rights that would have otherwise been denied to them. This was supposed to help allow a life partner other things, such as medical power of attorney and the legal ability to bury your SO. I've also seen adult adoption as a way to cut legal ties with toxic parents or grandparents by replacing them with their chosen family. So it makes them able to get some of their estate. I mean, I don't see how this is that strange. I'll grant that it is unusual, but if OP's ex has been involved in their life since he was a teen and hadn't really had a solid family of his own, I can see how he might have parental views towards OP's parents and them having similar views toward him. My daughter recently returned from college, and my sister joined us all for dinner. We all went to the Cheesecake Factory, and everyone thoroughly enjoyed themselves. We all got full regular entrees, no salad, enjoyed the bread, and even got dessert. Just to paint the picture, it was a complete meal. When we got home, my sister goes into the fridge and pulls out a rack of brownies that she baked and then gets the ice cream too. My wife and I tell Rachel, not her real name, "Thank you for the brownies, but we're good." My daughter also says, "I'll have some tomorrow, Aunt Rachel, but I'm stuffed for today." Rachel's okay, gets a big bowl for herself and some ice cream, and then keeps asking my daughter to have a spoonful. My daughter says, "No, really, I'm good." Then Rachel says, "Oh, did your parents say you can't have any?" She says, "Hey, Aunt Rachel, no, I just don't want to eat so late. Plus, I am full." It was getting weird. I could tell my daughter was uncomfortable. I say, "Rachel, thank you so much for the brownies, but we don't like to eat so late." This was when it got weirder. I'm guessing Rachel took that as all of us ganging up on her. I could see her forehead was getting sweaty. And she says, "It's toxic you taught your teenage daughter diet culture just so she could look good for men and fit into a white beauty standard." I got really annoyed by this, and I told Rachel we encouraged our daughter to lose weight so she would be healthy. We have a family history of diabetes, and there's a reason why you have diabetes and I don't, and why my daughter won't either. And after this, it just got really bad. She started crying like crazy and said she was just standing up for young women. She ends up leaving shortly after. My wife tells me I was being too harsh, and my daughter says that she's sad that my Aunt Rachel was crying because she knows she wants the best. I feel like it's a really weird place. My sister doesn't have a family of her own, and she really wants someone who she can mentor like a child too. And we've had tons of aunt-niece days, but I'm really questioning her judgment these days. She works in education policy and helped my daughter a ton when it came to colleges. But for me, I feel like Rachel wants my daughter to be like her, and in a way be fat too and undo my daughter's weight loss. I know that could have been really embarrassing for Rachel. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You have a valid point. Part of being healthy is to have healthy relationships with food, including knowing when you're full and when you shouldn't push your stomach. And I'm not too fond of the fact that the sister wouldn't take no for an answer. That's not advocating for women. It's not advocating for anything. OP's sister recognized that she was overindulging and wanted someone to do it with her so that she could justify it and not feel guilty. You see the same thing around people drinking, trying to push it on others so that they aren't the lone idiot who doesn't know when they've had too much. Far be it from me to determine what other people's eating habits should be, but trying to push someone into something they're doing so that they can assuage themselves is an ugly look, regardless of the activity. OP, what your sister was saying to you was over the top. She wasn't listening to no, which is a complete sentence, then went after you with the subtext of self-loathing and misogyny in her white culture comment. You could have been nicer, maybe, but to be honest, if someone told me in front of my teenage daughter that I was toxically prepping her for men's use, I wouldn't be polite either. You gave your sister some tough love. It's the first warning, but she may be surprised when you cut contact if she can't respect your and your daughter's boundaries.